So it's probably good that I'm not checking comments before watching episode 2. It's Romania Black, and we are on technically episode 14, episode 2 of season 2 of DanDaDan, 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 DanDaDan. And yeah, wow, Whiteboard Coon's showing some leg off there in the corner. Get out of there, Whiteboard Coon. But anyway, we may need Whiteboard Coon. Who knows? We may need Whiteboard Coon today because we're on the second episode. And last week pretty much ended off kind of on a cliffhanger with Momo and Okurun and Jiji trying to hide in this house. But the light of the evil, like, legendary snake monster or worm or Mongolian death trap basically this Mongolian death worm or whatever, the light from its ethereal mouth petals has seemingly stunned Momo and possibly blocked her telekinetic powers and caused Turbo Granny's influence over Okarun to skyrocket. So we don't know what the result of that's going to be, and that's why I couldn't wait until the moderators checked comments. I had to dive right into this episode. So I'm sure by the time we get to episode 3, I'll be able to look back at episode 1's comments, but hopefully y'all are doing me a solid and not spoiling me and letting me know what you thought of the episode and all good fair games and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I'm excited about this episode. I don't know what we're going to get. The last episode did not feel like a season premiere. It felt just like a continuation right where we left off at with episode 12, which makes sense. But I'm all about DanDaDan's bizarre humor. As we said in the Discord, it's like, it's bonkers in the best way. I'm all here for it. So before we get started with this episode, real quick, I want to thank everybody over on Patreon. If you are watching this on YouTube and you are not a patron and you want to go ahead and see next week's episode, well, you just hop on over to Patreon because we have a tier where you get to see everything a week ahead of time. So you get to see everything before everybody else on the internet, which is fun. I basically record everything a week ahead of time so that you guys on Patreon get first dibs to see it. But I want to thank the philanthropy tier over on Patreon. They get a shout out in my videos. They're super awesome and donate me some extra dollars each month because they're amazing people. So thank you so much to Alex Cornejo, Be Happy, Bisa, as well as Damage3245, Dana, Devorin, Danger Zone, Destiny Marie, gotta say it like that, Ichu El Cuno, as well as Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, Elfreya, Linden, Liam Polzel, Matthew Palfinier, Willie Morris, Murphy, Translucent Men, Sunspots, and Shimoyama. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, I don't know what to expect, but I couldn't wait. I got home, I got off work, I had some dinner, and I was like, I think it's time to watch DanDaDan because it just feels right, like we should do that. So, and I like the idea that I'm recording these to where they come out on Patreon right before the new episode comes out. So it's kind of like a recap. You get a nice little recap of this week's episode and right before the new one comes out. So it's a fun time. It's a fun time. But yeah, we're not gonna waste any more time. I want to see what happens. So we are gonna dive right into DanDaDan, episode 14, aka season 2, episode 2. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Do you remember that phrase, it could always be worse? Ah! This episode was crazy and so good, but so crazy. I was like, oh no. The part in me that was like, oh good, Gigi's made a friend. Oh good. I was like, he's made a friend. They say he's the evil eye, but it'll be okay. Gigi's so bubbly and optimistic, and we're gonna talk about how that may come back full circle next episode. We'll see. But I'm like, oh, this will be great. Gigi can calm down this ghost, and it'll be like Casper. This bitch ain't Casper the Friendly Ghost. No. Instead, nope, that didn't work this time around, but maybe it will later on. Maybe it will. But I was like, oh, cool. Gigi's got a friend. Him and the evil eye will team up, and they'll beat the Mongolian Death Worm, and then everything will be sunshine and rainbows because the evil eye will have his revenge. And then Good Feeling was gone. It's like behind the villain was a worse villain. Because at least the Mongolian Death Worm, okay? The Mongolian Death Worm, as far as we know, as the audience, as far as we know, is literally just a mindless monster that's just driven by the urge to eat people, and it uses psychic waves to kill its victims. It basically is doing like a predator move. It's using psychic waves to make its victims kill themselves. It's basically like if you know what would be terrifying? If vultures had psychic powers and they just made their own carrion. That'd be terrifying, right? So that's literally what the Mongolian Death Worm is doing. It's just basically paralyzing and numbing. It's using the sticky substance to get its prey stuck, or it's paralyzing them with the electricity, or it's using its psychic waves to try to kill its prey so that it can eat them. And the Keto family was just dumbasses enough to stand there and let it happen. So, but yeah, so the Mongolian Death Worm, I'm not so mad at it as I am the Keto family. The Keto family is really responsible for all this nonsense that's added up to this moment in this episode. The Mongolian Death Worm is just literally eating people because that's what it does. It's a mindless beast, and that's what it does. But what's even more dangerous than a mindless beast is a vengeful spirit that has been consumed by hatred and the lust for revenge. That's worse. So this episode was amazing. Let me just say, the animation, beautiful, great. I thought we were going to get an acrobatic Silky moment. Not really. We don't really. It's sad, but it's not quite on the same level, and we'll talk about it in this episode. But we start out with the evil eye, which in his underwear, Captain Underpants. Again, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be fair because you know how I be. Did we need to have Jiji down in his skivvies? No, we did not. No, we did not. But you know what? Whatever. I'm not going to say anything about Jiji because he's an underage kid. No, thank you. I'm a lady in my mid-30s. No. But it was not necessary. It was kind of funny in the sense that he got like a reverse Sailor Moon transformation. He went from being clothed to not being clothed, so like reverse Sailor Moon. And him being in his underwear ties to how we've seen the evil eye in every iteration, because he was sacrificed in like the loincloth, and then when he took over the kid's body, he was in the underwear too, and he was in it before. So in continuity, it adds up. But you know, I'm just keeping it 100. I wouldn't want it for Momo. I don't want it for Jiji because it's not consensual. Jiji didn't ask to be in his skivvies, even though he's got an 8-pack. He didn't ask for that. But y'all know how I do. So yeah, I think it's genius, and it's all making sense now. Gigi's got the part. That part in the middle of his forehead was driving me crazy this entire series. I was like, why has he got that stupid part in the middle of his forehead? It's so that when he becomes the evil eye can show up there. It's a character design. It's very conveniently placed so it can happen. So yeah. But yeah, so my question was, the rays were making Okarun and Momo want to kill themselves. Why, at the beginning, did Okarun go towards Jiji instead of trying to kill himself? Why was that a thing? Why was he screaming at Jiji? Maybe it was Okarun trying to get to Jiji to tell him that something was up. Maybe that was the reason. And then he's trying to like hurt himself with like all that. And I was so confused. I was really interested in why Okarun tried to get a hold of Jiji first, unless it was him trying to do that and him punching him, or realized the evil eye was inside of him. I don't know. Maybe Turbo Granny's abilities made him sense that something was weird. I don't know. Interesting. But yeah, and then poor Jiji doesn't know what's going on, but he tries to figure out maybe I should get them out of the sunlight and that'll help. But it's just the psychic waves, that the sunlight is our symbolic indication. The psychic waves are filtering in and making them want to commit suicide. But then, damn, this episode made me so nervous. I was like, there was too many fake outs. There was the box cutter. There was the glass literally trying to ghost Momo. If you've watched the movie with Patrick Swayze from Ghost, oh my God. And it was just trying to impale her, and then Turbo Granny gets in the way, which again, Turbo Granny, stay with these kids. They need you, and you end up being the voice of reason in this episode. So I'm sorry I doubted you, Turbo Granny. I was like, Turbo Granny, let Jiji be friends with the spirit. It's okay. And she was like, she was like Tim the Enchanter from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. She's like, I warned you, but no, they never listen. Now, do we think that there is going to be an acrobatic Silky moment next episode where this evil eye has vowed? It could go two ways. It can go two ways. I said in season 1, I wondered if Jiji was going to be a villain because, you know, our girl, Acrobatic Silky, I can't believe I can't think of her name now. What is happening? My brain just had a blank, but she's kind of more of like an anti-hero to me. She's going to show up when she's needed, or she's going to join and do missions whenever, you know, it works for her. I wondered if she was going to be like an anti-hero, and then if Jiji was going to be like a villain, and that would kind of be the spectrum. Because if you think about it, Acrobatic Silky, I wrote it up here on Whiteboard Coon. Also, welcome back, Whiteboard Coon. That didn't take long. So I wrote up here Acrobatic Silky. Acrobatic Silky's whole flashback, which brought me to tears, was essentially about a mother's love, and a mother's love becoming warped and twisted by a cruel society, and then transforming into revenge and hatred, right? And you could argue that the Evil Eye wanted love. They wanted belonging. It's a form of love. They wanted belonging community, which is a form of love. They wanted acceptance, which is a form of love. Hers is very parental, and that's a very specific type of love, right? The love that Acrobatic Silky wanted was solely parental between her and her child. And then when she was denied that, it drove her insane. And then here we'll talk about the flashback with the Evil Eye. But the Evil Eye essentially was wanting belonging, acceptance, and community, which are all forms of love. So when they didn't get that, and we'll talk about that later on because I got some notes wrote up here, it eventually transformed into hatred and a want for revenge. And that hatred overrode the original MO that the Evil Eye had. And so the question is going to be with Acrobatic Silky, and oh my God, it's going to drive me crazy. Acrobatic Silky. I don't want, who does Acrobatic Silky end up with? Ira. Oh my God, Ira, why was your name escaping me, my girl? I failed you. They're like, not a true fan. It's been some months now. But yeah, Ira. But I wonder if Ira was able to connect to Silky, kind of doing the same thing that Jiji's doing, right? Acrobatic Silky was all about hatred and revenge, and I'm just going to get revenge on humanity because they, you know, kept me from my daughter, and I'm going to project my anger and hatred and want for revenge out on all of humanity, which is essentially what the Evil Eye is doing as well. And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about all of that when we get up there. I've got lots of thoughts, but I wonder if just like Ira was able to reach Silky and she showed kindness and compassion to Silky where no one else had when she died. She's like, I feel for you. I love you. I care for you. Please don't do this. And then that allowed them to merge, and she loaned her power and all that to save Ira, all that jazz. I'm glad it's not a repeat with Jiji in that sense. Jiji does the same as Ira, though, and willingly opens himself up to let the Evil Eye possess him. But I'm wondering if once the Evil Eye is, you know, technically possessing Jinshi long enough, or Jiji, not Jinshi, a different series. But if Jiji is possessed, you know, is the host for the Evil Eye long enough, one of two things are going to happen, I feel. Either Jiji's compassionate, empathetic, kind heart is going to affect the Evil Eye, because we're going to talk about that. Either it's going to affect him, and it's going to be like an Acrobatic Silky moment where Jiji is going to be able to work together with the Evil Eye, and they're going to be able to, that's going to be his his powers, kind of like what Okarun and Ira have. That's going to be his thing. Or Jiji's going to be the villain of the series. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Jiji's going to be the villain of the series because I think the aliens are the villains. But I don't know if Jiji is going to be a villain for a while. He might be an antagonist for a while. He may end up like running away this next episode and they don't see him for a while. That could be it. We don't know, but we're going to have to wait and see. But we're going to talk about the Evil Eye a little bit later in this. But yeah, I feel so bad for Jiji. Because Jiji, now that we know, I feel so bad for Jiji because he had to watch his parents try to hang themselves. Oh my God. And then Jiji just watched two of his good friends try to kill themselves. And this poor boy is just trying to hang on throughout all of this, and it doesn't affect him. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to give Jiji the biggest hug. Bless his heart. I always think of, they do interviews with like Robin Williams, and Robin Williams was extremely troubled. And he's this hilarious comedian, and they talk about how he uses comedy to, like a lot of comedians, himself included, used comedy to mask the pain and trauma that they were dealing with. And I'm like, Jiji has had this big smile on his face, been a goofball in class, and tried to like play the class clown. And the reality is he was hiding a hell of a lot of trauma behind it. And I'm like, oh my God, this poor kid. Also, I'm just going to say it. It is not physically possible for him to carry two people around the same weight, one in each arm. It's not physically possible. Anime rules applied in this episode, but I was like, suspend your disbelief, girl. Suspend your disbelief, girl. Suspend your disbelief, girl. They're running from a Mongolian death worm. Suspend your disbelief. But no, kids, don't try that at home. This 18-year-old kid cannot lift a full-grown woman in one arm and run, much less jump. He didn't even have supernatural powers at that point. I was like, soccer does not do that much for you. Watch, somebody sends me a video link being like, well, actually, Mythbusters proved that you can hold a full-ass grown woman that weighs 120 pounds in one arm while running and doing parkour. I'm just waiting for someone to send me the link, but I'm like, it's not physically possible. But it's fine. It was the only thing that took me out of the illusion, but it's fine. It is what it is. Also, I like him testing that the Mongolian Death Worm responds to sound. Also, lots of stuff with eyes in this episode. His bangs being there for the eyes, one eye getting affected and getting hit. Lots of stuff happening. But yeah, I hate it. And then when he hears them say, please let me die, he thinks back to his parents and seeing the death worm and his parents trying to hang themselves. And it's like, what the fudge? Oh my gosh. And him trying to like holding his mom telling him to let him die is crazy. This poor kid. And every time we see the evil eye, we see the hair longer and longer. Like he's getting closer and closer to the skeleton of the evil eye so that it can possess him. We're going to talk about that because that goes back to the boy that was at the bottom of the house. Okay, we're going to go back to that. All right. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, so we're gonna backtrack a little bit. And he's like, but why? I'm glad Turbo Granny was okay. Turbo Granny had an Olaf moment from Frozen where she's like, I've been impaled. That's literally what happens to her. And then she's like, how are you okay? And it's because the interesting thing is that the evil eye literally attached itself to a child in the house, right? The evil eye attached themselves to the child that was going to be sacrificed because it connected to that child. The evil eye was like, oh my God, you're going to be sacrificed too? Me too. Let's be best friends. Like Casper the Ghost and Cat. But the only difference is, the one thing is what we get from the flashback is everything from the evil eye's perspective. Do we trust that the evil eye is 100% a reliable narrator? Because as we find out, the evil eye's whole MO was to possess Jiji and take his body because he's a very athletic, fit young man with super spiritual powers. So the question is, what should we believe the evil eye and take him entirely at face value from his flashback? Or do we treat him like the unreliable narrator that I think he kind of is and say that he wasn't giving Jiji the full perspective? Because, yeah, the child that was sacrificed by the Keto family, the child that ended up getting sacrificed in every iteration was a child that either one of two things, had enough spiritual power to resist the worm. But you could say, well, Momo has a lot of spiritual power and she couldn't resist the worm. Or you could think what might be the more likely suggestion and say that the evil eye attached itself to the kid. And because of that, it was able to negate the Mongolian Death Worm's ability because the evil eye was technically watching over it. That seems more likely. The only problem with that, on the surface and according to the flashback, you think, oh, well, the evil eye was just wanting a kid to play with. He was just wanting somebody to play with. That's all he's ever wanted. I'm not saying that's not true. That's probably very true. But Also, I think that, either one of two things. Either as time went on, maybe the evil eye was actually trying to possess one of these kids, and that's why they tried to play with them, and that's why they protected them, or whatever, and then it led to the one kid. But we're going to get to that moment, because I think that moment was a turning point when he possessed the one kid, and they, like, merged together. That was a turning point. So I think before that moment, he was actually trying to just find kids to play with, and it just so happened that him wanting to play with the kids protected them from the death worm, but not their parents. And that's why the parents committed suicide. We'll get to the moment and talk about it there, because I want to break that down. But yeah, so Jiji and them, he's trying to make the people inside the house commit suicide. The death worm has an eye, or it doesn't have an eye. I thought it was an eye in the center of its mouths because it looked like no, it was a damn sarlacc pit. No, it was a sarlacc pit. I thought when you saw like the psychic waves emanating from the death worm that I was like, oh, there's like an eyeball inside of its mouths and maybe it's connected to the evil eye that way. No, inside of its mouth is literally a sarlacc pit that's trying to swallow everything. The evil eye is with Jiji. So Jiji, I could see Jiji letting the evil eye in because he thinks, Jiji believes that, oh, just like with Ira and just like with Okaroon, I'm going to let this spirit possess me and it's going to work together with me in kumbaya. No, Turbo Granny's been like, don't let things possess you. Yokai are not inherently good. They're evil. Or they have evil intentions. Turbo Granny had evil intentions. She's just been forced to resign them because she's stuck inside a little Neko Lucky Cat's body. She's like, you haven't noticed yet. Which is interesting that Turbo Granny's like, have you not noticed that the evil eye is trying to possess you? But anyway, damn. Jiji getting the glass in his hand and his arm. No, thank you, ma'am. That hurt watching that happen. That made me feel, my dog wants me to play with him, so he's being annoying. But that made me physically ill. That made me physically ill, and I was like, nope, not having it. But yeah, So meanwhile, he's like, I've got to get these guys out of here. And then we keep seeing the evil eye getting closer and closer to him. But I like that he resists the evil eye just long enough to save Momo and the others. I'm like, thank God, Jiji. Jiji is so strong. Like, he's really grown on me these last couple episodes. And I love he grabbed Turbo Granny by her collar. Again, not physically possible, especially after you just had glass go through your arm. But sure, whatever. He's a real one. Our man Jiji is a goat. And also it's a shonen, so we'll let it slide. Gets the shonen treatment. I do love the concept that they just kept building the houses on top of one another, and the spirits, where he uses the spirits to make the ball of energy that he kicks around like a soccer ball. The fact that they literally did a Monty Python and they just kept building the houses one on top of the other, and they kept that's why it's a hill, which is insane. It's a hilltop because they just kept building the houses on top of one another. That's such good world building. I love that. That's so creative. And it explains it. It's wild. No. So yeah. And then as the death worm gets up to him, we see the evil eye with all of its tendrils from the corpse, and it blocks him. So the evil eye and the kid's faces merged. Yeah. So that was from the vessel that he possessed last time, and that's why he looks so creepy, which is interesting. And I'm assuming that once the vessel died, just, that's what he's been using this whole time. But okay. So creepy. So yeah, it allows Okaroon, and oh wow, the OP was like 5 minutes into this episode. What a wild time. But yeah, my dog. Leave Whiteboard Coon alone. So yeah, Turbo Granny has apparently done some search engine research to find out about the evil eye, because normally she doesn't know who's who. And they're like, what is with this guy? Did we regain our sanity thanks to him? And they're like, don't look him in the eye. His evil gaze will make people go insane and commit suicide. And suicide, that's the same power as, the psychic power is the same as the worm. He's like, yeah, the evil eye's curse and the earthworm's psychic waves are canceling each other out. Well, here's the thing. I don't know. I think Turbo Granny is half right. I think that the evil eye is obviously dangerous. He wants to destroy humanity because he's been warped by hatred and the lust for revenge, which we're going to talk about later in the flashback. But I think that while he's dangerous and we should not be supporting him, I do think that it was the Mongolian Death Worm that was causing people to commit suicide, not the evil eye. And the evil eye just got the bad reputation because of it. So I don't think the evil eye can make you commit suicide, because Momo looks at him several times, like while he's in Jiji's body, and she doesn't have the urge to commit suicide like the Mongolian Death Worm made her do it. So I don't quite believe that. Anyway, he goes and kills the worm, but of course the worm is like a damn hydra. It just grows back. Luckily, one head. I was like, if it grows back 3 heads, we're in trouble. But yeah, here's the thing. Jiji, the spirit, is like hovering around him, and he says, and he's like looks right into Jiji's eyes, right? And then shows him the flashback. And showing him the flashback was intended to get Jiji to be sympathetic towards him, because Jiji is an extremely sympathetic person. He's very kind. He's very funny. He likes to, he's very trusting. I put up here, he wants to be friends with people. He doesn't want to be alone. The whole thing was, he's been by himself, and you can't blame him for not wanting to be alone. He literally watched his parents try to commit suicide. Like, that would mess somebody up. So he doesn't want to be by himself. He wants to go back to his childhood friend Momo. And then the thing is, he also, unfortunately, is gullible. He's very gullible. And they did a good job of setting that up, because in season 1, he wasn't trusting of Okarun at all at first. He was assuming that he was a bad guy, and he just wasn't, making a lot of deductions by himself, which should have been a red flag. And then in the house, the biggest red flag was last week, where he was trusting the Keto family, and we're like, hello, red flags everywhere. But Jiji is gullible because he wants to be kind and friendly, and he was taken advantage of by the evil eye. Because of it, the evil eye is like, oh, this athletically charged young man is gullible as snot, and I'm going to take over this body, and all I have to do is show him my tragic backstory, and he's going to shed tears and be my bestie. And it worked against all odds. The problem is, I do find this backstory really sympathetic. I really do. I really do. I was convinced by the backstory. I was like, oh, Turbo Granny, you're being silly. He's fine. Was fooled myself. I was voted most gullible my sophomore year of high school as well, so I can relate to Jiji a little bit. I can relate to Jiji just a wee bit. I was like, oh man, I'm with you. I want you to see the red flags, Jiji, because I wouldn't have been able to see the red flags when I was your age, so I totally feel you. Oh God. But yeah, so Jiji, of course, feels bad because he thought that the evil eye, he's like, I was blaming you for my parents, but you weren't responsible at all. So Jiji is smart enough to figure out that the evil eye was not responsible for his parents trying to commit suicide. It was the worm. The problem is that the evil eye is not innocent as Jiji believes that he is. But he started out seemingly innocent. He was just a kid that wanted to play with the other kids. He just wanted to play with them. And then he was basically starved until they sacrificed him. Of course, the question is, did he, the one thing that is not made clear throughout all of this, he's sacrificed, right? And that's horrible. Sacrificed to the volcano. That's horrible. And it seems like he just wanted to play with those other kids, and he was all by himself. The thing is, because we know the evil eye is not entirely a reliable narrator, did he do anything that warranted him being isolated before this? Did he try to hurt any of those kids or anybody else before he was put in isolation? They don't talk about that, because why would Jiji need to be shown that? Jiji just needs to be shown how he was horribly sacrificed and burned alive, which is horrible, by the way. But we aren't given any context as to why this kid. Why him? Why not other kids? Why was it him that was isolated? Was he targeted because he had white hair and like different colored eyes and he seemed like he might have been albino? Was he ostracized because he was different? We get context clues, but we don't get confirmation. And because the evil eye is not entirely a reliable narrator, you kind of have to sit there and go, is this the whole story or is there something missing? And we don't know. I thought of Natsume's Book of Friends when we saw the dried squid, because that's literally what one of the characters eats all the time. Now, the Keto family leading this, like, seance and this sacrifice is messed the frick up. And the fact that the kid was literally burned alive to appease this volcano is messed up, because there was no Mongolian Death Worm at that time. There was no Mongolian Death Worm. They just literally burned this kid alive. I am amazed. He's like, I just wanted to play with the others. Which I do believe that's genuine. I do think that the evil eye originally started out wanting to play with the kids. And that's where this all originated from. I truly think that's genuine. I can't believe the graphicness of them showing, like, the kid's burnt corpse and it was moving from side to side and wriggling because the crows were pecking at its dead body. Oh my God. That was insanely gross. Oh my God. And then he's a ghost in the house. And the thing is, he, like, asks the kid, he's like, oh, hey. And he smiles at the kid. And the moment he smiles, the parents have drowned themselves. So the question is, did he cause the parents to drown himself and spare the kid? Or was it, we don't see the Mongolian Death Worm's glow there. So what's the deal? There's no Mongolian Death Worm glow in that instance with the one kid. And he's like, oh. And he seems sad that he caused the parents to commit suicide when he smiled at the kid. And then he goes to the next kid and he smiles at that kid. And when he smiles at that kid and is like, hey, let's play, then he's like, the parents kill themselves. So was he showing Jiji an altered form of the past where he actually was getting revenge on the kids that were able to play without him? Or did his powers cause everyone else around him, except for the kid that he liked, to commit suicide? Because we don't see the Mongolian Death Worm's glow here either, which is interesting. Also, but then we start to see it. Okay, then we start to see it. So never mind. Then we start to see it. Interesting. So maybe it was there all along. They just didn't show it before. So then time seems to pass because we see a kid in, like, a modern setting. And he says there's a ghost. And he says to look. And then we see the kid with the long hair. And he says there's a ghost in front of us. And this is the kid that's used as the vessel. And he said there's no such thing. And he smiles and starts to dance, like, for the kid. And it's kind of deceptive, because you're like, oh, this little kid, the evil eye, is so cute in this moment. He's so cute and he just wants to play. But then the death worm makes the parents commit suicide. So I don't know. Did the death worm... Okay, so because he starts to dance for the kid like he wanted to play with him. So that's curious. Was he, like, the fact that he was there, the evil eye was there, and the kid could see him, and then the Mongolian Death Worm woke up because he heard him dancing? Is that what it was? Because Jiji noted earlier on in the episode, he said that voices don't resonate and attract the worm, but sounds in the house do. So... But the evil eye's a ghost, so he shouldn't be making sound in the house. Right? So if he was solid and the evil eye was a ghost that had some solid, principles and could make sound in the house, it would make sense that would attract the death worm. And that's when the parents killed themselves. And that would track with the parents weren't starting to try to commit suicide until the kid saw the evil eye and the evil eye met him. And that caused the death worm to kind of come up to where they were at because he was dancing. Maybe. I feel bad because the evil eye looks genuinely adorable and like he wants to play with the kid, and he's inadvertently causing this kid to go through trauma just because he wants to play with them. And it's really sad. It's a terrible cycle. But yeah, it seems like him dancing attracts the Mongolian Death Worm, and that causes the parents to commit suicide, but the kid ends up being okay. Okay. So then the Keto family come back, right? He's like, there's something down below. Uh-huh. And then he's like, what will you do to the kid? And they're like, oh, he's an offering to the great serpent lord. We'll bury him, the house, and all. And, okay, so the evil eye recognizes that that's her. So apparently he didn't realize that it was the same woman from before until years later when this keeps happening. This is to protect the village. Okay, it's our duty as members of the Keto family, and they just keep burying the village. Keep burying the houses in the village over and over again. So yeah, so this is the corpse. Again, they treat him like the one corpse, and so the evil eye tries to untie him, and this kid is like crying and freaking out. Also, I don't know why they use his pants to help tie him up, which is horrifying, and his shirt to tie him. Okay, so it's not rope, but like his shirt and his pants, which is terrifying. Okay. And he tries to save him and it doesn't work. And then we see him with the kid, and him tied up in the house reminds him of when he was tied up or when he was left in the house. And he says, I will never, ever forgive them. And that's when he says, I'm going to kill them. Uh-huh. And then he says, look this way. Okay. And then he merged with the kid. Look at me. Uh-huh. Yep. Okay. So, essentially, when he merged with that kid, what I was going to get back to, because then we see, like, Jiji having the reaction as well, is that when he merged with the one kid that was getting sacrificed that one time, and that's why he looks kind of like he looks now, it's his current vessel before he possesses Jiji, I wondered if originally the evil eye didn't have all this malice, didn't have all this evil intent, was just this spirit trying to continue to do what it did as a kid and play with people, and everything was kumbaya. But then when he merged with this kid to use him as a vessel, that kid did not have the want of kumbaya and to dance with his friends. No, that kid wanted revenge on the Keto family killing his family, and wanted revenge, and also had all this anger and hatred tied up with him. And so when the evil eye possessed him and used him as a vessel, that merged his want for someone to play with him with this evil, revenge-driven hate for humanity. And so that's now merged together and become one entity. And that's what it is. So now he's possessed Jiji with the remnants of that kid's hatred multiplied with his own, and he thinks that he's just going to use Jiji's body and whatever. So my hope is that Jiji's love and empathy is going to kind of override that hatred and lust for revenge. And my hope is that he's going to be like, oh, you wanted to possess my body? Well, my body's different than that kid's body. So now your entity is going to mix with me and have to deal with that. Kind of like Turbo Granny mixing with Okarun and Ira mixing with Silky. Like the personalities sort of have to merge and have to be like balanced, right? So that's my hope anyway. My hope is that eventually Jiji's inner soul will cause the evil eye to not be able to fully take over him like he has in this episode. One would hope, but obviously we're not going to do that until we see him and Okarun fight. Because it's a shonen, and we have to have that, right? We have to have that. It's like part sports anime, part romance, part shonen, whatever. But yeah. And then like, Jiji, there's no time dealing with that one. And I like that it's good to know Mo was able to rip him off. And he's like, he won't get away. And that's when Jiji's like, oh, he's different. I'm like, that's what they all say. They all say he's different. Yeah. And he's like, he's not a bad guy. He's been fighting alone this whole time. And I was like, Jiji. And he's like, no, Jiji, you were played like a sap. You were played like a sap. To get back to this kid's, like, where the corpse is. I'm like, oh my God. I do love the continuity of the houses getting older and older. I think that's really cool. And then they get down to the OG, and he opens it up, and then there's this corpse at the very beginning. My thing is, how'd they get the corpse from, that's like with all the talismans and stuff wrapped around it. I'm like, how'd they get the corpse back from where it was burned? Like, did they build a house around, I guess they built a house. They did. They built the house around the pillar where he was burned at? What the fudge? Why did you do that, Keto family? Why did you do that? What the fudge? Or who put his body back in the original room where he was kept a prisoner? What the fudge? And they're like, what is up with you? And then, yeah, he just, cute and deceptive. Deceptively cute. He was a little imp. The evil eye was looking like a cute little imp. And you're like, oh. And I'm like, I was fooled too. I was like, he's like, were you protecting me this whole time? And they're like, don't get closer to him. Yeah, he's a yokai that drives humans to suicide. Well, he's the same as us. It's like, no, not quite the same. Like, nope, he's not the same. You don't get it at all. Turbo Granny's like, this is not good. The sap is gross, and it's just another way for the worm to try to, like, get its prey. And then I do like the little ad where Turbo Momo's like, why isn't your good luck working to help me? And Turbo Granny's like, my luck just goes to whatever. It's random. So right now my luck might have gone to the enemy. And she's like, son of a bitch. I thought that was a good little continuity that Turbo Granny's luck's not really in her control. Also, poor Okarun getting paralyzed. But yeah, she's like, let's go. And Jiji essentially, the problem is that the moment that the hair on the corpse started to like get into Jiji, I was like, oh, actually that's not good. And I don't know if I trust this spirit very much. And then yeah, Jiji's in the same building as the spirit. I do believe that the spirit wanted to play. And I do think Jiji is nice to say that, I was wrong. It wasn't your fault. And he's like, I want to play together. The problem is, playing together is I want to possess you and use your body. And Jiji is too nice and gullible to discern that. And instead is like, okay, here we go. Like, he's so sweet. Like, you can't blame Jiji for being kind and being like, okay, let's play. But then I'm like, you left yourself open to be possessed by an evil spirit. My dude. And honestly, I was fooled too, because I was like, oh, good. Jiji and him are going to like, he's going to let this evil eye possess him and they're going to work together. I was fooled as well, y'all. I was fooled as well. He's like, let's play together a whole ton. What you want to play? He's like, a lifetime isn't even enough. I'll hang out with you as much as you want. And then the moment it smiles, I was like, oh, that's not good, actually. That's not good, actually. Nope. Nope, it is not. He says, you finally said it. You let him in. You let him possess you, mother trucker. Damn it. I do love the webs and all that. That is crazy. And then Turbo Granny's like, that's why I told you shouldn't trust the evil eye. He doesn't even get to keep his, like, tracksuit shorts. Doesn't even get to keep them at all. Nope. Not one bit. And instead, I'm not going to say anything about the body of an 18-year-old. I have no right to. Nope. Although I will say the rainbow dangling earrings are a choice. I'm fine with them. Sweet. Cool. Cool beans. Cool beans. The rainbow goes good with the white hair. That actually fits out pretty good. But yeah, the hair parting for that eye to be there, aesthetically designed. And he's like, it's time to murder all the humans. And she's like, wait a minute, what? Murdering the humans? And she's like, brace you or he'll nab ya. I don't think he's going to try to get out of that body, though. It's like Captain Ginyu from the Ginyu Force. And he's like, oh, you possess a strange power. I love that Turbo Granny is just like talking smack, even though her luck might not work in her favor. Turbo Granny's amazing. What a goat. I love her. Talk all the smack, right? Watch what you say. Love it. And then what happened to your usual idiotic hype? And he's like, who are you speaking to? This vessel is mine now. And I'll show you humans what they consider hell. I mean, you understand why the evil eye would want to do that, because they literally were burned at the stake, and the only human examples they really know are the Keto family, who have been sacrificing humans and making their loved ones murder themselves for generations. So you can kind of get that, but it's like you should know that not all humans are like that just for the fact that Jiji came to you. So like, I can only hope that Jiji's goodness like wins out and overpowers and overpowers the evil eye. I can only hope that, and maybe it'll help. And then him saying that in this cursed house where grudges will never be rid, in this cursed house, the deep grudges of all the murdered will reject everything. So he basically takes their power and forms a soccer ball. I like that he uses Jiji's like athletic ability to play soccer against the worm. Like, I want the worm to get destroyed. Don't get me wrong. I'm just worried that Jiji is going to go on like a murderous rampage as the evil eye. And so hopefully Jiji's spiritual power, because I like that Turbo Granny brought up why Psycho called him a genius. You've grown up into quite the genius. You really are a genius. It's not often you see such ingeniously strong spiritual power. So the evil eye was targeting him to use him as a vessel from the start. Turbo Granny's like, I wish I could have possessed him myself. And Momo's like, well, he wasn't like that back in grade school. And Turbo Granny's like, everybody hits puberty a little bit differently, Momo. He was a late bloomer. He can't help it. But I'm hoping that much like Momo's spiritual power allows her to resist a lot of things and be strong, I'm hoping that Jiji having this strong psychic power or strong spiritual power will help him to be able to gain some of his autonomy back. Because honestly, if you think about it, the evil eye possessing Jinshi is really, I know Jinshi gave consent to be possessed, but he didn't really give consent to have his body used. He was just wanting to play and meet the evil eye halfway. He's like, I just want to play with you and be your friend. But he didn't say, I want you to take my body and use it to murder others. So I'm hoping that Jinshi can use his spiritual powers to be able to somewhat bring the evil eye down a notch and at least maybe control him a little bit more. So she's like, hunker down, Momo. He is not on your side. Yeah, and Momo's like, okay. I honestly, I wanted Okarun versus Jiji, but not exactly like this. But I'm glad that, of course, Jiji tries to attack Momo, and Okarun, proving to be best boyfriend material, comes in to block the shot. I love the callback to Jiji trying to play soccer with Okarun, and now they get to play soccer. It's just fighting each other in spiritual forms. And then Okarun saying, you bastard, you punched Momo-chan. You're not getting away with that. Love it. Yes. At least Okarun has his pants. What a wild episode. What a wild time. But yeah, who knows? So yeah, that's the episode. We're left with another cliffhanger. How dare they? Oh my god. I don't know if Jiji is going to run away in the form of the evil eye and be an antagonist that we have to fight another day. I don't know if Jiji is going to be able to use his spiritual strength to win his autonomy back from the evil eye, and they'll work together like Acrobatic Silky. What's funny is we kind of have this like this grid going on in a weird way, and I'm going to kind of try to make it to where it's where you all can kind of see what's going on. So we have Jiji over here, and we have Ira over here, and you have this spectrum where Jiji, both of them are similar in that they allowed the possession to happen, right? The difference is that Jiji was just used as a vessel, and Momo, or Ira, and Silky like combined together and worked like in sync. So they're very different as of right now. Then you have this connection of both of them having spiritual powers like with Okarun. So they're both related to ghosts. And then all three of them kind of have a reaction with Momo and her psychic abilities. So it's just you get all these threads all connecting together, right? And then Jiji likes Momo, Okarun likes Momo, Ira likes Okarun. Maybe Ira will like Jiji, who knows? They've not met yet, but y'all, I can't believe. The good thing is that I get to watch week to week with you. The bad thing is when there's a cliffhanger, I have to wait a week. But anyway, I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. Trust and believe after this episode. I don't know how they're getting out of this situation with the worm. I don't know how this is going. I know that the movie covered, someone in the Discord had told me the movie when it came out covered the first 3 episodes. So I imagine there's going to be some sort of conclusion next week as such. But what that conclusion is, I have no clue. So we'll just have to find out together. So anyway, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I was fooled this episode, but fool me once, DanDaDan. Shame on you. Let's hope I don't get fooled again next week, shall we? Have a good week, and I'll see you next week with more DanDaDan. Bye.